Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
Hey, this is of course the podcast where we talk with advocates and members of the disability community to educate and inspire better conversation about disability. Hey, my name is Rob Minot, and joining me today, Mr. Double Strike himself, Mr. Ryan Fleury.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, you couldn't think of anything.
I couldn't.
Hey, look who else it is. It's Steve Barclay.
Oh, wait. Does this mean Ryan's going out on strike?
Oh, see, boom. Steve picks up the slack. I love it. Excellent. Well
Our
done.
ratings will go up. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Exactly.
Save the show again.
Yeah. How is everybody doing this fine morning?
Oh, just dandy. The sun is shining. There's coffee in front of me. I mean, what could go wrong?
Yeah, I know exactly. And I hear a little bird told me that you're nearing some vacation time, so you're looking down the barrel of some fishing.
I am definitely planning on clubbing some fish next week.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. So this is the big Ukulele fishing trip that you do every year.
Yeah, stock the freezer. Time to get the fish for the year.
Now, last year, did you get enough for the entire year?
I still have some left actually from last year.
Man, that's wild.
Got a little bit of tuna, a little bit of halibut, a little bit of salmon.
Wow. Very
Good thing
nice.
you like fish.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, this whole thing would be moot. All right. Well, I don't want to dive too far into any other rabbit holes because we've got a lot of ground to cover today and we've got a limited time to do it. So without any other ado,
Don't say that. I hate that word. I hate that phrase.
you don't even know what it means. What does it do?
I don't care, but every time I hear a YouTuber say it, I just want to punch my screen. Without further ado.
Man, Ryan, not a Shakespeare guy.
No.
Anyways, what the heck are we doing today, Ryan?
Today from SensePilot.tech, we are speaking to CEO and co-founder Mike Hazelwood. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'll try to avoid saying much ado. Without further ado.
I got to go now. Bye.
Don't worry about it. It's much ado about nothing.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Well, listen, we are thrilled that you are joining us. Of course, you're joining us over there from the UK, I believe, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So, welcome. Just out of curiosity, what time is it over there?
It's 4 PM for me.
Oh, see, that's great. See? Well, listen, maybe before we get started, because we have a lot to sort of chat about in terms of SensePilot, but why don't you give us a little bit of a brief overview of yourself and a little bit about SensePilot?
Certainly. So, I'm Mike, based in the UK, and we started SensePilot about a year ago. My background is in sales and product management. For a very long time, I was selling titanium. So you probably, if you've been on a commercial flight, you'd have used my product. It's holding the airframe together and fasteners, but then did that for over a decade, then transitioned into product management. So kind of learning about how we build tech products, taking feedback from users, iterating on it and making sure whatever you're building is as useful as possible. So yeah, we're a startup. We're actually a family startup. So team comprises of myself, my brother-in-law, my wife, and their cousin. So very much a family enterprise. We started on things May last year. So we did a hackathon. Just trying to see what was possible. My brother-in-law previously worked on as a developer on AAC apps. So he had this idea of, how to make computers accessible with just the tools they have on them. So can we do something software based that, just uses a webcam? So how can we open up doors in that respect to, PC control hands-free, just using a webcam via your head movements and facial gestures. So just started out building a prototype during that hackathon, just seeing what we could do. see if we liked working with each other. It's always an interesting thing as a family just to kind of start speaking to each other in a work context. So just started playing around with ideas and seeing what we could do, and speaking to end users, speaking to occupational therapists, and just seeing what was possible.
So how often in an average week do you want to punch a relative?
It's a wonderful thing being with your family, that you can be, it's a great thing in a work context that you can be frank and open with each other. It's also a bad thing sometimes. So no, we do we do speak very openly, and there are a few occasional disagreements over kind of directions and paths we should take, but no, we work very well together. So
okay, I'm going to write down frequently.
So tell us then a little bit about the actual product and what it does.
Yeah, certainly. So it's software that just runs on your Windows computer. It turns on the webcam for you, and it picks up everything your face is doing. So it tracks your head movements and the angle of the face. So you're able to move the cursor around by moving your head around. And then you can also correlate and map out clicking actions and keyboard presses to different facial gestures. So for blinking your left or your right eye, raising your eyebrows, smiling, opening your mouth, we have 22 different facial gestures that you can bind to any variety of keyboard or mouse clicking actions, as well as things like 12-click built in. So what it does is, it enables computer access, but one of the things we were designing really around was how can you do things like, video gaming on a computer completely hands-free without touching anything, where you need that accuracy, that quick response, and you need a software tool that also doesn't have too much drain on the CPU. So we kind of figured that if we could solve those for video gaming, everything else on computer access becomes a little bit easier by design.
So how long was just out of curiosity, how long was the development process, like from the beginnings of the idea to the final product?
Well, we've pretty much taken just about a year on it. So, building in little increments, getting more and more feedback. We only launched the company in September 24. So kind of we're taking some time really just understanding, is there a need for something like this? How would people use this as a tool? So we were building with a friend initially who, unfortunately suffered a spinal cord injury, and he uses a rollable mouse to access his PC, is able to work full time. But when it came to, gaming and things, or that fine control, that was where he really struggled. In a first person shooter, even if he upped the sensitivity setting significantly, he was really struggling to control that camera. So we were, testing with him. He was, thankfully a friend, so very patient with some of the software we sent. Kind of once we got a bit more stable, we started a pilot program in Ukraine with an NGO. So for individuals who had lost limbs as a result of the war, we, got them set up with devices, got them set up with the software, just wanting to see how they'd use it. What are they finding? Are there any struggles they're having? What are they using the computer for? It's just simple things like being able to type out a message again. Certainly for them, there isn't a lot of voice recognition or speech to text support for Ukrainian language. So being able to type something out just using an on-screen keyboard was very helpful. And then February this year, we launched a wider beta test. So a mixture of end users, occupational therapists, from all sorts of places. So from, people we'd approached, people from gaming disability charities, people from schools trusts, rehabilitation centers, but also people that had found us, which was, quite surprising that people were finding us from all over the world, really. So, people testing from Brazil, from South Korea, and, just giving us feedback of things they'd encountered, things that they had difficulty with. So taking all that on, and then we'd kind of made a few assumptions before that we needed to test, which, they did kind of show that we had to build a few features like profiles to make it a really useful tool. So you can, have one profile for your standard everyday desktop access, one profile for playing your favorite game, and then another profile for playing a different game, and or different profile for different applications. So took that on board, and then we were able to release just in May this year. So yeah, fairly new tech out there at the moment.
When you were developing it, did you kind of do a little bit of market research and kind of see what other similar types of devices are out there? Because Steve and Ryan and I, we've worked in the assistive technology industry for a while now, and I mean, I know that there have been other like things like head pointing systems and stuff like that, but I think historically they've been fairly expensive, and they've been fairly bolt on. I mean, you had to have a special camera. You had to have, special, I think, didn't you have to wear a dot on your head, Steve? Something like that?
Yeah, if you look at something like the head mouse technology, where you wear a little silverized dot, there's been a couple of iterations of that, but there's also been things like the Smile Mouse and Project Game Face. So, Mike, can you sort of talk about how you differentiate yourself from those other companies or projects or products?
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. So I guess I can start with the head mouse. So that's an IR or infrared camera that, essentially shines infrared light. You have to wear a little reflective dot on your head or your headset or your glasses, and it tracks that movement. It's a very, very quick responsive tool. It kind of struggles and with things like gaming. They can also cost quite a bit for the user to be able to get. Smile Mouse, webcam based head tracking, but they have some facial gestures as well. Not quite the full range, but where it struggles is that kind of fine, accurate movement. So hitting small buttons, hitting that kind of control. Again, with the gaming support, it's not capable of doing like a full 360 degrees and mapping out lots of different actions to it. Game Face was a very interesting one. It's essentially kind of we only encountered it a few months into building what we're doing. Kind of immediately went to test it. It was like, okay, it's pretty good, very powerful. They Google open sourced it, and unfortunately, a couple of Windows updates down the line, it doesn't seem to be functioning at the moment. So, it was kind of one of those things we were discussing when we came out of the hackathon of like, okay, what's our approach? Do we open source this? It's available to everyone, or do we try and build a business around it? And if we do that, what's our approach? So trying to make sure that, essentially new Windows updates don't just kill off the product. So that it continues to work, continues to be useful, and it continues to add in new features. And, there's a few of those that we're kind of working on at the moment. So purely controlling the cursor by facial gestures, so you can map those to up, down, left, right, for example. And you can use that alongside the head tracking. So, if the up and down movements are difficult, you can map those to raising your eyebrows or lowering your eyebrows and things like that. And then we've also got a early prototype of sound recognition. So where you can train a model, if you're able to make repetitive sound, you can use those sounds to map out to a click, a left click, or a keyboard click. So that's an early prototype. We're just working on the confidence level that it is the individual making that sound and not a third party external interference. So making sure it all works well on device, and hopefully should have that out within the next few months.
And Rob, I'm sure you're going to be excited about this, because you could, in Grand Theft Auto, you could map that to bang, 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 bang.
That's right.
Yeah. And, that's kind of one of the things we had with profiles as well. So, Grand Theft Auto, for example, you've going to have different controls for walking around, shooting, versus driving a car, versus swimming, versus flying a helicopter or a plane. So you can swap between those profiles. When you enter the different vehicle or different mode, and you're able to kind of continue with the controls.
Yeah, it's really cool. We talked just last week. We talked to somebody who runs a an accessibility consulting business, and one of their main thrusts is into the idea of accessible gaming. So I'm really heartened to hear that there's a lot of work being done in that space to try to make accessible gaming much more prevalent. Can you speak to a little bit about that? Why you guys sort of decided to lean into that area as well?
It was just, from predominantly from speaking with our friend of some of the struggles he had with getting into gaming. We did design alongside Special Effects, so a gaming disability here in the UK. So they were absolutely fantastic. So, we'd send them rough designs and they'd say, no, that's not going to work. You have to imagine if you have your sensitivity settings wrong, how do you go in and change your settings? So, they were involved within that process quite early. And then we were able to, send them software to test, to say, okay, can you guys get in here, test it? They've got a significant amount of equipment. So switches and joystick configurations that I don't have. So, can you test it with as many of these? Can you test it with as many games? Can you find some end users that you think would, be keen to test? So, it's kind of following on from what they're doing, and there's some great work certainly in, Able Gamers we're connected with, and Everyone Can, and companies like that who really embrace the inclusivity of gaming. And, there's a lot of work to do on the accessibility side of games. Certainly there's a lot of discussions and how to make games more accessible to everyone and more inclusive to everyone, because, games are, certainly for me growing up, it was, escapism. It was the parents telling you you're playing games too long, you're going to get red eyes, that sort of thing, which has kind of come quite funnily full circle that, my wife will turn around and I've been playing games for 6 hours using our head tracking, and she'll kind of question it. And it's saying, well, it's testing, we need to make sure we do longevity testing. And she's like, you've been playing for 7 hours now. Can you stop?
Well, I often say that, it's also really part of sort of the cultural conversation these days. Video games have come a long way in the last, say, 20 years, and they're much more prevalent and I think important for that, cultural discussion, for people with disabilities to be able to participate in that, as well as for, some games. I mean, it can be a really social component as well.
Absolutely. The power of that social aspect is huge. That there are times when you kind of ask yourself the question, okay, how do you decide what game to play on any time? So you've got some time, you open up your console or your computer. How do you decide? You can now see which of your friends are online and what games they're playing. And I think a lot of people nowadays would choose that social interaction. It may not necessarily be a game that they would have chosen in the first place, but it's, just hanging out with your friends, hanging out with family, and just being able to participate in social activities now.
Right. So I find that the other really interesting thing that's going on in the assistive technology space recently is being able to sort of leverage mainstream technology in order to use or build something, as a platform to build some AT. And I guess the real advantage to that is that when you don't have to produce, specialized niche hardware, you can really bring the price point down to where people can actually afford it, because historically assistive technology can be incredibly expensive. Can you speak a little bit about that, about how important it was to, say, leverage like just a regular webcam when you were developing SensePilot, and speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so my previous work involved supply chain, and I know the difficulties in setting up a supply chain, going through R&D processes, finding the factory to make these things, shipping, storing things, storing physical hardware. So those come with significant challenges and significant investment. You need to invest quite a lot in setting up those processes, and also making sure that your tech isn't copied by the factories as well. So it was key of just kind of like, what can we do with standard equipment? That was that was, what we've been working towards. So we did set ourselves a kind of the big hairy goal of, can we tackle eye gaze? How would that work with just a webcam? Is it at a stage where I think it would probably, with eye gaze, it would probably be very difficult to get close to a dedicated eye tracker, but how close can we get? So that if you're unable to get funding or, funding for such devices can be quite difficult. So can we do something with, you just walk into your local computer store and say, okay, I need a Microsoft Surface. This is going to work for me. Or I want a game. Okay, I need a gaming laptop or a gaming setup. So, a very core consideration to what we're doing of just having standard computing equipment. We don't really differentiate. So webcams do differ as well. A better webcam right now would kind of be a little bit better in terms of contrast and focus, but it'll operate absolutely fine with whatever you have inbuilt in your device.
So I also want to talk a little bit about AI, the elephant in every room these days. And because I'm curious to know how much, AI or machine learning factored into the development. And I don't know if a product like this was even possible, say 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, it's only really kind of recent advancement in facial recognition that have enabled us to get, make the accurate and stable cursor that we have. So for us, we're using and mapping out the face in real time. We don't take any data back. So, we're not retraining any models. Everything exists locally on the person's computer. So all the settings, all the kind of calibrations you do, all exist locally. For numerous reasons for data privacy. It reduces lag, so you can still have a very quick responsive tool. It reduces the drain on the CPU, and then I guess importantly as well, if you're an AAC user, it needs to work offline. So, you shouldn't be without your voice if you're, relying on patchy cellular internet. So it needs to work. Everything we do needs to work locally on device and offline. It's just kind of the recent advances in technology that have allowed things like this to be done and really picking up things accurately as well. So picking up even the smallest of movements and, being able to correlate those with whatever you'd like.
So with AI sort of being involved in the process, how challenging is it to sort of keep up with that technology? Because it is evolving so fast, and we are seeing improvements leapfrogging over each other, month to month. Yeah,
it is a consideration. I mean, the way we develop things has certainly changed. Hours of writing code gets shorter now, but you still have to go and sense check it and make sure it doesn't break anything else. So there's plenty of considerations around that. I think there are some very interesting things coming out within AI. Certainly some of the agents available that can cut out a lot of repetitive tasks, can just speed up a lot of everyday processes for people. So there's a lot of very powerful things. If you have it plugged into your calendar and it sees mum's birthday, you can have it automatically go and search for flowers for you and give you, the best options available. Those sorts of really powerful things to just reduce the amount of clicks you need to make, the amount of scrolling through websites and searches and typing that you need to do as well.
Hey, it's Steve. You're listening to the AT Banter podcast, and I'm not just a podcast host. I'm also president and owner of Canadian Assistive Technology. Did you know that Canadian Assistive Technology prides itself on having the largest and most extensive product line of assistive technology in Canada? We believe in giving our customers the greatest amount of choice because finding the right solution can make all the difference. Our wide array of products cover a spectrum of needs. Whether you're looking for low vision aids like CCTVs or optical magnifiers or comprehensive blindness solutions, we've got you covered. We also offer hearing amplification solutions, alerting systems for people who are deaf, mobility canes, physical access aids, communication aids for the nonverbal, some products to support people living with dementia, and specialized digital accessible signage to make public spaces more accessible. We also have what we call our gently used marketplace for more reasonably priced options on consignment items. Plus, we have demo equipment available. Our goal is to provide all the custom accessibility solutions you need. Explore the possibilities today and visit us online at www.canastech.com or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. And now, back to the show.
And so do you have a sense of what demographic you sort of see really utilizing SensePilot to its largest advantage?
Yeah, it's been built for anyone really who has dexterity problems or who struggles with a traditional mouse and keyboard or even an adaptive mouse and keyboard. So can be, a variety of causes, spinal cord injuries, MS, MND, ALS, to name a few. But we've had some users who've, got repetitive strain injury, carpal tunnel, who, are able to use it and relieve some of the issues that they're having in their wrists or hands, for example.
So, and really, it's a use case across. I would imagine, like students, professionals, or even older folks. I could see really getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of built it in mind. Not everyone wants to game, but they get the benefits of the accurate control. So. Again, we've had a variety of ages as users at the moment, so it's just a real mix.
I was at an agency last week, and I was sitting there having a conversation with a lady about trackballs because she wasn't able to grasp a regular mouse, and I'm sitting here going through all the different options for trackballs, and just partway along the conversation, a little part in the back of my head went ping. Hey, SensePilot, and so I'm going back there in not next week, but in a couple of weeks to take some trackballs, but also to see how SensePilot works for her as well. It'll be an interesting test to see how it pans out for her.
Yeah, well, keep me posted how you get on and how she finds it.
Yeah, it should be fun. We started out with her. They had ordered voice recognition for her, and she has a heavy accent, which is going to make that challenging. But I think SensePilot might be a really good fit for her.
Well, that could be an interesting one with our sound recognition. Actually, if you're able to make repetitive sound, even if it is a word, you can map those out to different clicking actions or different combinations. So. Even if voice recognition really struggles with an accent, how could that be used? How can we use our model to perform the actions that the person wants on the computer? So, yeah, that could be interesting to try as well.
So now you mentioned that everything is local on the user's machine. So there's no cloud-based element to this at all. It's all local.
Correct. Yeah, none at all. So everything happens locally on device. So the app just runs in the background. You can go through, set all your settings, and then just continue about whatever you need to do. So don't need to be connected to the internet. You're able to use it offline. Certainly, I've taken my laptop out to a few conventions and shows and being able to demo offline. So it's we don't need any cloud connectivity, and we're not retraining the model at all.
Now, how do you sort of compensate for things like say lower camera webcam resolution, or even like say things like poor lighting or anything like that? How does the software sort of deal with those issues?
Yeah, so poor webcam resolution. Most webcams standard will kind of be 30 frames a second, which is what we're running at. So it picks up as long as you're running at 30 frames a second, it picks up very well. Right now, even if your webcam's 60 or 90 frames a second, it kind of dulls that down. Just to make sure it's still responsive. Obviously, as a visual tool, lighting conditions are key as well. So, if you're heavily backlit, that can completely wash out the camera. If you're sitting in a very dark room, that can make things very difficult to operate. The screen glare alone is sufficient to light up the face, but that also depends very heavily on what you're looking at. If you're looking at, whatever's on your screen is very dark, then it'll struggle to pick up the face. So there are definitely lighting conditions to consider and take into account. So strong backlight and very, very dark, but I mean, verging on pitch black are going to have some issues.
Now, I'm really curious about the development process because, tackling this, I would think as a gaming solution must have, you're sort of front loaded, I would think, all of the challenges in the development, because once you can figure out how somebody can game effectively, then doing something like, writing a Word document, that's going to be, a piece of cake.
Yeah, that was our whole ethos when designing and building it, of really let's build and design for the most difficult thing. Everything else then kind of falls in line. So, the early days initial test was kind of like, okay, can you click here? So we used a few different tools of like, can you click accurately? So we played a very simple game where these, balls increase in size and you have to try and click on them before they shrink again, and it gives you a score. So like, okay, we're just testing accuracy here. We're just testing this out. Okay. So the next step from that was, okay, can you play Minecraft? Can you go and play Forza? Can you go and play Call of Duty? Can you play Counter-Strike? Those sorts of things. And just trying to see what are the limitations. Is this being picked up by anti-cheat? Which is unfortunately part of the issue when you're simulating keyboard clicks and things. Anti-cheat software exists to stop malfeasance. So, it's how do we get around those? How do we essentially make sure it's not being picked up by anti-cheat software so that it can be used by the people that need it to play the games that they want as well. So it was, a lot of the work with special effects of, okay, what games did you try? All right, I've tried these games. How did you get on? Did you use a Switch alongside it? Okay, that was interesting. How did that work? It didn't work in this game. All right, let's go and everyone download that game and let's see if we can figure out a way around it and test. And, speaking with end users of, okay, so you tried playing this. How did you find it? Did it work in the way that we would expect it? And yeah, just making sure it's as usable as possible.
And so, given that gaming focus, because I think that the other thing that you find with games is that everybody likes to game differently. Everybody has their own setups. So I would think that when you were developing it, customization and the ability to really have a user be able to configure it any way they want must have been really important. Was that sort of a main thrust when you were developing, and sort of how important is that in the process?
Very. We wanted to keep independence at the forefront of everything we were doing. So, how do you set this up with as minimal external support as possible? How do you go in and change all the settings? How do you go in and personalize it? So right now we've kind of got it to a point where, really it's turning on head tracking and turning on how to left click, and then you're free to go in and select whatever you want to choose and change, and create different profiles and change the settings to your preferences, ranges of motion and ability ultimately. So it was a very, very key consideration, making sure that we designed with the users in mind, making it as clean as possible. It was kind of also things, input from special effects that try to stay away from sensitivity sliders, because if your sensitivity settings are off, they can certainly cause a problem for someone trying to get back and change them. So how do we design that? So we did it numerically. So making 20 large buttons, a scale of 1 to 20, and the buttons are all spaced out to make sure you can accurately hit them as well. So that was, very, very helpful from special effect.
And and we always ask developers this, and you've kind of alluded to this, but how important was consulting the community when you were developing?
Very. It's understanding how people use the tool, what they use it for, what things do they find difficult. So really having that constant feedback is absolutely key. So are there any features they think that would help them better navigate the computer, better play a game? Are there any things? It's still happening. We're still getting these feedbacks which didn't come out in the beta test of someone's wanted a specific thing. So things like, okay, when I don't want it to happen instantly when I make a facial gesture. I want it to happen after a second or two, just to make sure I don't accidentally click things. So we're building in trigger delays. So thinking of all, it's impossible to kind of think of all scenarios unless you're getting that feedback in. The users have to remain at the forefront of what we're doing. How do they use it? What are they using it for? And yeah, how can this be useful to them?
What other thing, like as you're developing, I mean, you must have a running list of, hey, we could also do this. Hey, we could also do this. What is kind of the roadmap for you guys, say over the next year or two?
So over the next year or two, so the list is growing constantly of kind of, oh, how about we add this? How about we add this? It's making sure we prioritize of, okay, what are the key areas? What's going to have the most impact for our users? That's where we need to go. So we're starting a bit more work on that sound recognition. So hopefully that should be ready for testing in the next few months. We're working with a specialist on that at the moment. So that's going to be one of the core things. It'll probably be early next year that we start looking at eye tracking, but there's still plenty of things to be looking at, plenty of things to be working on with what we have now. The to-do list will never be done. That's the delight of building software. If your to-do list is finished, then that's pretty much the end of the product line. So, how do we keep moving? How do we keep moving forwards? Very, very key considerations.
Are there feature requests that have surprised you?
Yeah, so there's been a few interesting ones that have kind of come in. So right now we're building for, just using the Windows on-screen keyboard. So Windows has two keyboards built in. So you've got the on-screen and the touchscreen keyboard, but kind of a recent request is actually, is there a way of speeding those up? Because when you have to go through, and if you're using facial gestures or a switch, have to go and click, click, click each one individually, it can take some time. So, can we build an on-screen keyboard that speeds this process up? So something that's using, predicts what the next letter is. So, you press an H and it kind of gives you all possibilities that could be next. So a vowel, for example, and then you click on the one you want, and then it gives you another selection. So it kind of can speed up that way, but also similar to how Androids, or I guess iOS is as well now, how the swiping typing works. So you just have to kind of bounce between the keys. So that was a very interesting one. And yeah, trigger delays was also quite an interesting one of, I didn't want the click or this to happen until, for example, 2 seconds after I've held that facial gesture, or I held this button down. That was something we probably wouldn't have come up with by ourselves. So yeah, without user feedback, we wouldn't have come up with these ideas. So no, some very, very interesting feedbacks come in.
So now this is just a sort of a general question, and just more curious about it. What's sort of the atmosphere there in terms of assistive technology and accessibility? Over here in North America, we hear these stories that everybody over there is sort of taking accessibility and assistive technology a little bit more seriously than we are, just because of the different legislation that's come about. Are you finding that? Are you finding that there is a lot more talk around accessibility and assistive technology over there?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more thought into it. Obviously, the European Accessibility Act came into effect in June, I believe. So that's seeing significant changes. I think there's still quite a lot of work with education of companies that need, suddenly realize they need to comply. Certainly similar happened when, the European Union introduced the GDPR data privacy regulations. It took industry a while to realize that they actually had to comply. I think a few fines probably need to be levied before companies start paying attention that this is something they need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a bit of a, talking at a government level, there's some reviews happening in the UK here, for example, looking into personal independence payments. It's they're essentially looking at reviewing the whole welfare benefits package, and unfortunately that seems to be swept into it as well. They're looking at the provisioning of paid versus free softwares at the moment. So there's certainly a lot of work from organisations like the Banter, the British Assistive Tech Association, trying to push back on the government and try to see, okay, reform's one thing, but make sure you don't cut people off. Basically, this is still a priority. So there is a good movement at the moment towards more accessible practices and advocating for assistive technology in places. The UK government's also brought in a pilot scheme for schools for having assistive tech learning library. So that should be kicking off pretty soon. So there are some interesting ways of that are being tested out at the moment. So yeah, hopefully all the schemes are a success and they see value in rolling out AT to everyone.
Yeah, I love it. You guys are kind of, forging the way for us. We'll be certainly taking a close look and seeing how that all goes. Because man, we're biting at the bit. We really want our governments to take it as seriously. So hopefully this will mean going forward in the coming years that we'll start seeing some traction on this. Because I think that between increased legislation, enforcement, and education, you combine that with some of this emerging technology that is really going to make, I think, assistive technology cheaper and more powerful. I think we could really be on the verge of something pretty major in the coming years. So that's me being 8 a.m. optimistic.
How do you even do that?
A lot of coffee, my friend. 2 cups.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, so if for people out there who want to find out more about SensePilot, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, so you can check out our website at sensepilot.tech. You can shoot us an email at info@sensepilot.tech, and you're able to book demos with us as well through that. You can find us on socials. If you just search for SensePilot, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So we do try to push content out of just showing different use cases. Also just as a way of like when we push new updates, here's how they are, here's how they work, and things like that. So, head to our website. We have a 30-day free trial, so you can get in, don't need to give any credit card details. So you can just go in, test, see if you like it, see if it makes sense. And if you don't, please shoot us some feedback as well, because that is very important for us to hear.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks again for coming on and taking some time and talking with us. Please come back again if you have any sort of updates.
All right. No, definitely. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. AT Banter's been one of my my regular listeners listening. What? So
really?
I dropped my son. Yeah, I dropped my son off at daycare and put my headphones on and shut myself off from the world when I go home. So it's very enjoyable.
It's official. We have 2 listeners.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. This is excellent. We've doubled. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much. And have a good rest of the day. All right.
Thanks.
Take
we'll
care.
Talk later.
Right. Another incredible piece of AT being developed thanks to our good friend Artie.
Yeah. I've actually gotten to play with it a little bit, and it's impressive. It's really impressive what they're doing just off the standard computer's webcam.
Yeah. And watch the
you know,
demo. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of control there that I haven't seen with other products. It is just so direct, so configurable.
Yeah.
The amount of configurability to the product is really impressive.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by artificial intelligence is really, it's leveling the playing field, I think, because you can really, like, the fact that it's only been a year, and they've managed to develop like a more robust, powerful piece of software that particular branch of assistive technology is probably seen in a long time.
Yeah, indeed.
So,
and no targets.
Yeah,
you don't have to wear anything for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that fact that you can just run it right off your machine, that's invaluable.
For sure.
When it comes to bringing down the price, you can't understate how powerful it is to start to see some of this AT being paired with conventional mainstream technology.
I think it's interesting the direction they took, or the path that they took towards this product as well. The fact that they focused in on gaming specifically, and the spill-off benefits from focusing on gaming are like, oh, well, we can do anything else we want to do too.
That's right. Yeah. I thought that was really ingenious too. And really great. And, again, servicing an underserved demographic, I think, which are gaming people.
Yeah. And I'm very excited about, the possibility that somewhere shortly I will be able to play Red Dead Redemption and shoot people by going bang, 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 bang.
That's right. I want that. I want that too. Anything else to say about that before we run off and begin our respective days?
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to say, all right, well, then I'm calling it.
All right. Well, you just call it then.
Bye.
All right. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, Rob.
Where can people find us?
I don't know. Steve, where can people find us?
Oh, gosh. I think we got a website somewhere, right? Is it like atbanter.com or something?
That's the one. Hey, and they can also drop us an email if they so desire at cowbell at atbanter.com.
And they can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Mastodon and not Twitter and not Threads and not Blue Sky and all those other garbage crap social platforms.
Nice. That's, you know what? I'm going to have to clip that. I think that's going to be... I've always been against canned responses, but man, that was smooth and well delivered. And
excellent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Man, good job.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we got to get out of here. So that is going to about do it for us this week. Big thanks, of course, to Mike for joining us. And we will see everybody next week.
Banter.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions, as well as physical access solutions and augmentative communication aids across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com, or if you're in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, visit our storefront at number 106 828 West 8th Avenue in Vancouver. That's one block off Broadway at Willow. You can reach us by phone toll-free at 1-844-795-8324 or by email at sales@canastech.com.